Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the
This is a 49er Faithful UK show, and this is the Week 2 preview. Mighty 49ers head to Minnesota for a match-up with the unbeaten, so far, Minnesota Vikings. And around at least 350 and counting of the UK faithful will be making their way to London for the 49ers official UK watch party. It's a short week, it's a road game, and the Vikings are coming off a big road win, though that was against the Giants, so maybe it's not all that. But will Big Sam Darnold get the better of his old team? Or is Jordan Mason going to continue to batter his way through to the end zone? I'm Gareth Ellis, and I am joined by Paul Hope.
London, baby!
And Lee Gowland.
Hey, fellas. It's great not to be doing any wardrobe changes tonight.
Yeah, it seems like only yesterday I spent the evening with you.
Watching him get undressed many occasions, Gareth.
Scarred for life.
Well, thankfully it was blacked out by the censorship there. So anyway, good to see you. Let's just go straight in. We've played the Vikings at the Gowland Bowl, no less.
It is.
Yeah, we've seemed to have played them a lot recently. Just, obviously the way that the league matchups, the schedule works, including that rather disappointing loss last year, which I think was was it our first loss of the season? I know it was second, wasn't it, after the Browns game? But I remember it, being a really deflating loss. It's never seemed to have been a big rivalry with the Vikings, but we have played them in some big games and some big playoff games down the years. Any particular memories stick out?
Well, yeah, if you want to open that old wound up.
Yep.
So obviously there's the NFC Championship game where we were heavy favourites and we ended up getting beat. That kind of still stings. Disappointing game that was.
Yeah.
But it's history now. It's history. And by the way, a History Corner will be returning. I just haven't done it for tonight.
You had to put all those jerseys back in the wardrobe. I mean, my fandom
I've put them all in the wash.
A lot. Yeah, I can imagine. Good job she doesn't listen to the show. But my fandom started a lot later than you guys. So when you say the Vikings, I remember Carlos Hyde doing that kind of spin touchdown in the black jerseys, Monday Night Football. I remember the playoff game from a few years ago where Jimmy just stood there and we just ran the ball on them. That was like a Saturday. It felt like an early kickoff in the UK. And I think it was one of those memories where the game day thread exploded. And like last year, Gareth, I don't think Kirk Cousins has played as well on prime time as he did last year. And anything that could go wrong for the 49ers went wrong. And anything that could go right for the Vikings went right. So it was a strange game last year. Like you said, second loss in a row. Social media went into meltdown. So what more can you say about that?
I think, to be fair to the Vikings last year, they thoroughly deserved to win that game. Like you said, that was the best game Kirk Cousins has ever played. Never mind just played against us. It was the best game he's ever played. And he did look like a legit elite quarterback the way he played last year. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the consistency. He can't keep on doing that week in, week out, which is why nobody's really ever taken the chance on him to trade for him. It's why Shanahan didn't. I know Shanahan wanted to bring him in, but there was always that worry that the consistency wasn't quite there. But yeah, last year, he just played lights out. Well played too.
Yeah, we owe him a beating, I think. Should we move on? Injury report. Little bit on the injury report already. If you've got one on the screen, I wonder if it's the same that I have got. Receiver. Let's start with the Vikings. Receiver Jordan Addison. He's the guy who cooked us last season. Is potentially out, as is outside linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. Centre Garrett Bradbury is listed as a limited participant, as is receiver Jalen Naylor. I must admit, I have never heard of before. So a couple of sprinkle a little injuries for the Vikings, but our report is already looking, a little bit busier than we would expect. Defensive end Yetur Gross Matos, linebacker D Winters not practicing, Christian McCaffrey, Talanoa Hufanga, Aaron Banks, and Juwan Jennings all limited in practice. I think we're pretty sure McCaffrey is going to be out. Not
Yeah.
sure about some of the others. I would be surprised to see Huff back. But Jennings and Banks out as well. It's not great at week 2, is it?
So what's interesting about that report there is that they've got Aaron Banks down as having a calf problem and a finger problem. Yet on the coverage on Tuesday morning, they were talking about his toe. It was his toe that was giving him problems. So whether or not the report from the commentators on Tuesday morning was incorrect, which you would expect it would be, because this is the official injury report. Maybe his calf problem's not as bad as what we thought he had, turf toe. You're on mute, Gareth. Can't hear a word you're saying.
There we go. My computer's just decided
it was better before.
Warm up. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, you. It's concerning, I think, for Aaron Banks. It is that kind of injury that can linger, and I think it's the kind of one that even if you fit to play,
finger, not linger.
Linger.
It's finger.
Paul,
already
you take over. You can deal with him. He's in that sort of mood tonight.
No, I think I agree with what you're saying. Obviously, we gushed about the offensive line, so Aaron Banks was part of that. And like you said, Gareth, week 2, seeing some of those names on there, it was interesting to see how many snaps Bosa played. And I think the plan was when we brought in defensive ends, they would be rotated out. But obviously, the injury that Gross Matos has obviously prevented that. So like you said already, you sat here now thinking, well, CMC's not going to play, right? Got Jordan Mason there. If Aaron Banks doesn't play, then if, Matos doesn't play, does that affect Kyle's scheme? Players coming in and out, but then it may be too early to say. It is Thursday night in the UK. I believe we'll get an updated one of these, late tomorrow, Saturday, where we'll get like a full report of who was playing and not. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, so we should have one of these. We should have that updated tonight for the Thursday practice, and then obviously by close of play tomorrow night, we should have the full game day status. You mentioned Aaron Banks there and the offensive line. Did you not think that Spencer Burford played really well when he came in to replace Aaron Banks?
I do, but I think Burford's played better like that when he's kind of rotated in and out. And I think to go into a game with Burford playing the full game, I may be wrong. I'm hoping to be wrong. I'd like to see Burford come in, Lee, and play every snap, play the drives. But I think sometimes they've moved him around, haven't they, and they've rotated him in and out.
Yeah. So I think if I'm correct, if I've heard correctly, Spencer Burford played on the left-hand side of the offensive line during college, and we've moved him over to the right. So maybe he's putting him back on that left-hand side. It has done him the world of good, because he did look a lot better when he came in for Aaron Banks than what he did the back end of last season. And the way he played, going up against top defensive tackles as well, I think that bodes well for him subbing for Banks if Banks doesn't make it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have, I think, some depth and experience along that offensive line like we perhaps haven't had in the last couple of years. This little injury week 1 shows exactly why that is important. I think obviously we can cope without CMC. We've seen that. I think Juwan Jennings would be a bit of a miss. I'm of the opinion that we just don't risk players at this time of year. If you've got that little injury, let them recover. It is a short week and it is a road game, and they are going into a bowl environment with the artificial turf. I'd rest players if you're not fully fit at this point of the season. You just don't want any injuries getting worse. And I think we can cope without all those guys. Disappointed, as I always am, if Juwan Jennings is not on the field.
I tend to agree with what you've said there, Gareth, but I wouldn't. I would still have them on the active roster for game day and suited up, but not necessarily playing. If it's a case of they can play but you don't want to risk them, I would still have them suited just in case you need them for whatever reason.
True.
Yeah. I mean, the CMC one's interesting, chaps, isn't it? They've all said if it was a playoff game, he'd be playing, and maybe there's an element of protecting himself. And like you've said there, Lee, if you declare him he's not playing, then the Vikings don't game plan for him. But as it stands at the moment, CMC in this offense, even if he comes on the field for limited snaps, the defense has to prepare for him. And at the moment, the talk of the NFC is Jordan Mason. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of feature to there. Do we see Kyle Shanahan change it up? Maybe it was Jordan Mason's time last week. Maybe it's somebody else's turn this week. And that's the beauty when we've got this beautiful, violent football team that can run the ball at will. And you've got Brock Purdy that can pass the ball. So I'm excited to get into what we think the key matchups and stuff will be.
Well, let's go straight into that then, Paul. Let's not hang around. Opponent's offense, I think we've got it there, led by Sam Darnold. He wasn't necessarily expecting to be the QB1 this year, but I think it's shown. You put the hours in, you become a QB2, get a good season with the 49ers under Shanahan. Then you're one injury away from being a QB1 for a season on a competitive team. Let's face it, the Vikings wouldn't be my favourite for their division, but it's not beyond them to win the NFC North. So take it away, Paul.
Yeah, who thought? Week 2, chaps. Brock Purdy versus Sam Darnold. I mean, he looked like a different fella last week, didn't he, chaps? I mean, Sam Darnold, what does he lead? The number 2 ranked QB in the NFL at the moment, if you're dependent on where you get your stats from. He completed 19 of his 24 passes, including a career high 12 in a row to start the game. 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. But there was an interception, Gareth. So Sam Darnold did still Sam Darnold, despite all the good stuff. But he did have 79.2% completion rate, which was the 3rd best in week 1. He was only sacked once, and apparently the sole interception, to give him a little bit of credit, was from a tipped pass. But we all know the turnover battle can be key in the NFL. The problem with Darnold, he's shown that he's got first-round talent. He's shown he's got the arm strength, because if you believe Mr. Kentley, our favourite content creator who listens to the show, he was the best thrower of a football he'd ever seen last year in pre-season. And there was talk from Kent's camp that Brock Purdy might be losing the starting QB job. But he's always struggled when the pressure is in his face. Well, you got to get it in while you can, Gareth. So, but Sam Darnold tends to struggle with the pressure, and our front 7 and the way we played last week gives me a lot of confidence going into this game that the front 7 is going to be key, and we're going to put the pressure on Sam Darnold. What do you think, Lee? Do you think I'm heading down the right path here, or have I got into a rabbit hole I can't get myself out of?
No, you're definitely heading down the right path. So for me, I fully expected Sam Darnold to be the starting quarterback for the Vikings this season. I never expected JJ McCarthy to start. I think Sam Darnold's been brought in to mentor JJ McCarthy, so they don't have to throw him to the wolves straight away, because it very rarely works out well when you take a rookie quarterback and stick him in. Brock Purdy is the exception to that rule, but he wasn't brought in from day one. So I didn't expect JJ McCarthy to be the quarterback. I expected it to be Sam Darnold. As you said, he's come up against the Giants last week on the road. They've had a good win, but then again, you look at the weapons he's got, and he should be able to get something going with those weapons. Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Addison. He's got 3 brilliant weapons there. So there's only him can beat himself. And as you've said, time and time again, he's proved that he does beat himself. Yes, he does have a good throw of the ball. He has had a season with the 49ers, which may have improved him, may have improved the non-tangible skills. That might translate over to him having a good season. Who knows? But I think you're right, Paul. I think we need to get pressure on him as quickly as possible, because history tells us he sees ghosts, and he sees lots of them.
I mean, to be fair, Lee, you've the names there. So Aaron Jones is one not to be taken lightly. Aaron Jones of the Packers, he had a great game last week, Gareth. So when we played the Vikings last year, there was a lot of talk that the run game wasn't there. They've brought in a former Packer who, by his own admission, is targeting a 100-yard game this week against us. He's beat up on the Giants, and he's obviously feeling confident. And then Justin Jefferson, one of my favourite players in the NFL, someone I always look to pick up in fantasy football. like you said, Lee, he's unquestionably a top 5 receiver in football. And when you've got weapons like that, we've gushed about the weapons on our side of the ball, but Sam Darnold must be thinking, this is great. I've got Justin Jefferson on one side, Addison on the other if he plays, and Aaron Jones. But the run defense was an issue for us last year, Gareth, but it isn't this year, and we've only got 1 week of sample size to go from.
I think we made that concerted effort, I think, to fill the hole left by Armstead. Seemed to work. Not sure that the Jets gave us the best workout on that, but I think the Vikings will. I think the Vikings will want to try and establish the run against us, to try and open up the passes. I think they will want to make it a little bit easier for Darnold, as I think they will recognise that our defensive formations and the looks we're going to give him are going to be designed to get him thinking and guessing the wrong way. So I can see this being a bit of a ground and pound game from potentially from both sides. But I do also think it's gonna come down to who can pick their passes at the right time. And I think that's one thing that Darnold has struggled with, isn't it? It's hitting those killer passes at the right time, making that right decision. And I will imagine that, particularly with that little bit of knowledge, our secondary, Fred Warner, a few other players are potentially licking their lips at this. They've come up against him in practice for a whole season. I think we're going to know a few tells. That's obviously different offensive coordinator. It's not quite the same, but I think there's some guys there going to be looking for a bit of ball hawking.
I mean, you've mentioned Warner there. That's the final thought I was going to say on our offense. What Jefferson's been elite at is separation and producing on those intermediate throws, Gareth. You know, passes between 10 to 19 yards, the middle of the field, where we see Brock Purdy eat. And like you said, Fred Warner was all over the field against the Jets. And I think you're right. I think maybe Sorensen's going to play into that. I think he's going to show a few looks, maybe bait him into passing the ball. And we've also shown that once the receivers get the ball, the likes of Fred Warner, the likes of the safeties we've got, I mean, if Hufanga's back, you talk about ball hawking. We gushed over the turnovers over the last 2 years. This could be a game which, when we get to our bold predictions, won't surprise you. We could see turnovers galore in this game. That's how confident I'm feeling at the moment.
You have been checking my notes. It could be a big night for Mooney Ward. He had what you might term a quiet night on Monday night because the ball didn't come his way. Do you think he's going to be tasked with following Justin Jefferson? Or do you think they're going to be trying to get Jefferson on those crossing routes, coming over the middle, trying to cause a bit of confusion, seeing if he can find gaps in zone? Or do you think he's just going to be tucked in Mooney's pocket all night? Lee?
I would love to say I think he's going to be tucked in Mooney's pocket all night, but I don't think we're going to switch our cornerbacks around. I think they're going to play the side they normally play. Jefferson will probably move either side. He may stay away from Mooney Ward. They may decide to keep him over on the left-hand side and get him going up against either Diomedolin or Yedem. Either way, I think the 3 cornerbacks we've got there are all more than capable of shutting Jefferson down. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be our pass rush which helps the cornerbacks. And I think we did well enough on Tuesday morning to allow our cornerbacks to take care of Jefferson. After the way we handled Garrett, I'm not particularly worried about Jefferson. Yes, he is probably the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL at the moment, but we still have Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. Yeah, so I'm not too concerned. Having said that, it'd be the worst thing in my life for the Vikings to beat us this week.
Yes, yeah, personal issues aside. So
yeah.
I think to answer that finally as well, touching on what you said there, Lee, the fact that it's Sam Darnold throwing the ball. What Sam Darnold's going to be confused, I think, is I don't think Sorensen's going to blitz. He's not one of those coordinators that sends the all-out blitz. I mean, I think against the Giants, he was getting the ball out in 2.46 seconds against the Giants. But like you said, Lee, the fact that Jefferson's going to want to try and get open, we've got those secondary and cornerbacks to kind of stifle them. And we've seen what Sam Darnold can do under pressure. And it's going to be a different beast when you've got Nick Bosa on one side, Leonard Floyd on the other. And we saw what the monsters in the middle did last week. And then if he does get past them, he's got Fred Warner. So I'm not worried about Jefferson because he's not a good player, Lee. But you said it there. He's got Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. So, and Steve, if you're listening, we promise we won't text you too much. But if it's the other way around, please bear that in mind.
A big loss. I hadn't picked up this earlier. I was suddenly thinking, hang on, where's Hawkinson on this? And he's on the injured reserve, I think. So potentially a big loss there. I'd rather face the Vikings without him than with him. So I think that's potentially taken away one of their offensive weapons.
Yeah, so Hawkinson, I think he did his ACL week 15, 16, something like that. Was the back end of the season. So it was late enough that he wasn't going to be ready for the start of this season. I don't think they're expecting to see him until potentially after the trade deadline. You're talking mid to the back end of October before he's back. And like you said, it's great that he's not coming up against us because it just weakens them.
Yeah, totally. And I think this is an offense we can attack from that defensive side of the ball. I think, as you said, try and confuse Darnold and try and go after that ball. I think hopefully we saw that with the defense and try and force those fumbles. The Vikings will try and establish the run, and I think that's job number one on Sorensen's to-do list. I think, and make sure that they're not going to get any of those easy yards up the middle and start putting the ball in Darnold's hands. A couple of other little names there. Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins is still back up at the Vikings, our old quarterback. As is, don't expect to see him, Trent Sherfield. Didn't really do much for the Niners, but he's on the Vikings team. Every time I look around the league, there's ex-Niners on pretty much every team now. Out of sort of Shanahan's period with the team, it's a good sign, I think, that you go to the Niners and you're going to get employment afterwards.
So I wouldn't really count Trent Sherfield out if I was you, because the last game he played against us, he ran
Miami,
80 yards.
Yeah,
I was going to
ran
say,
80 yards for
on
a
the first
touchdown
play,
on the very
wasn't
first
it?
play.
Yeah.
So that kind of burns a bit.
That was the infamous game where Tracy was making me a cup of tea, chaps, and by the time she'd come in from the kitchen, I was cursing at the TV, and she was like, "They've only been playing for a minute, haven't they? Cheers, Tracy. Thanks for that." Yeah.
Wasn't that the game you were at, Lee?
It was a game I was at, yeah.
Purdy's first start, yeah. Well, so it turned out...
No, it wasn't Purdy's first start.
No,
that was against the Buccaneers the week later. It was the game that Jimmy broke his foot.
Got injured. It was his first, appearance, as it were. Anyway, let's avoid the rabbit hole and look at Vikings defense. I think you've got some notes on this because you are Mr. Reliable, Paul.
Oh, cheers, chaps. I know Lee's been busy with everything else, and we're missing Nadji. So, yeah, this one's been billed as the defensive coordinator, Flores, going up against Shanahan. So, apparently, if you think of our offense under Shanahan, a lot of people around the league think of Flores in the same breath. No other team blitzed more than the Vikings last year, chaps. 50.7 last season. But they only had a quarterback pressure rate of 32.1%, which was 27th overall in the NFL. And you rightly pointed out to Lee, you can't base it on last year, Gareth, because against the Giants, maybe because it was Daniel Jones, but they didn't throw the kitchen sink. They only blitzed 22.4% on the Giants dropbacks, which was 21st in the league overall. I mean, like you said, they were going up against the Giants, so I'm trying to kind of temper my expectations. But despite that, they did generate a quarterback pressure rate of 40%, which was the sixth highest rate in week one, with 20 quarterback pressures, which was the third highest of any team. They also had 5 sacks, which was the second most of any team, trailing only the Cowboys, who had 6 against Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't know whether we're going to see a blitz-happy Vikings this week, Lee, whether he's going to return to form, because you look at Brock Purdy and you think, does he struggle against the blitz? The answer to that question is no, he doesn't. So, last year, Brock Purdy did tear up the blitz. I know we lost, but he completed 14 of 16 throws for 183 yards and a touchdown, whilst the Vikings blitzed him at 51.5%. So like you said, depending on which sample size you want to look at. Do you look at the Giants game last week where Flores was trying to confuse Daniel Jones with moving pieces around? He was dropping people back into coverage. So maybe Jones struggled with that. Okay, there's no one open, but there's no one blitzing me. But then again, it was Daniel Jones. So any Giants fans tuning in, as you can tell, not a fan of your quarterback. But it's...
Don't think they are, to be fair. So
when I've been on the Vikings forums today and I've been kind of doing some homework, they're feeling very confident about their defense this year. Apparently he's picked up some key pieces in free agency. Apparently Flores has got the scheme that he wants to run. The players are hungry. They're excited to go up against the 49ers. But I have seen on social media that the Vikings fans themselves are saying, Gareth, the 49ers are a different beast. Yes, we blew out the Giants last week, but this is the game that they're all thinking, Kyle Shanahan's coming to town. Is the offensive genius going up against the defensive genius? Who's going to win out? So that was some of the notes that I had. What do you think so far, Lee? Do you think we're going to see a blitz-happy Vikings, or do you think he's going to mix it up?
I really hope so. I really hope we see a blitz-happy Vikings. And the reason I think that is whenever you blitz, you're putting yourself at a numerical disadvantage if your blitz doesn't accomplish what you set out to do. You look at how Brock Purdy plays against the blitz, he can escape pressure, he can extend plays. And if he's doing that and the opposing defense are at a numerical disadvantage, we've got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings. One of those is going to be wide open. All four of those can get mega yards after the catch. So yeah, if that's the way he wants to play it, I hope he blitzes the whole game long, because I think if they do that, we will destroy them. It'll be a massacre, because I can guarantee you we will beat that blitz more often than that blitz works.
I mean, some of the names, Gareth, I mentioned had restocked. Jonathan Greenard and rookie Dallas Turner have been brought in on the edge rush alongside Van Grinkel, who you said's on the injury report, but apparently he played quite well last week. Blake Cashmore has formed a good linebacker duo with Ivan Pace Jr. and then Stephen Gilmore. I forgot he'd gone there, and apparently he was pretty good last week against the Giants. And they've also picked up Shaquille Griffin. So they've got that kind of infusion of skill and savvy at the cornerback to complement the steady veteran that they had in Murphy. So I am interested to see how this plays out. I am confident that the Jets defense we played last week is better than this one, and we saw what we did to that Jets defense. But I do think we shouldn't take the Vikings lightly, and that's what the theme was in my homework. What do you reckon, Gareth? Any thoughts at this point, buddy?
Yeah, we can't take them lightly. I think that's going to be true. I think they are going to be possibly more of a challenge than the Jets. I think the secondary looks good on paper. They obviously Flores is going to get them well organised. I think it's the kind of thing that Ayuk and Deebo and Kittle have got to relish coming up against these guys. Because it's a test for them. Ayuk clearly has something to prove after signing a contract and dropping a couple of passes that a $30 million player should not be dropping. So I think he's going to come in with a chip. And I think Brock's going to say, don't worry, I'm going to get you. If you can get open, I am going to get you the ball. Just catch it this time, BA. And I think that there's going to be opportunities there, because it is always, what do you do against Shanahan's offense? Do you stick or twist? Do you go after Purdy and leave yourself open, or do you just sit back and let our run game pick up 4, 5, 6 yards every carry, and we just keep marching the ball down the field and ticking away the clock? I think at some point you've got to try and attack us from the defensive point of view, because otherwise Shanahan's proven time and time again, if you sit back too much, he'll always move the ball. It might not be pretty, but I think he kind of likes that because it controls the clock as well. Purdy can do those short passes. We can see that Mason can carry the workload. It's going to be a test, I think, for Flores. I hadn't really looked back to see what the Flores-Shanahan matchups have been like in the past, and who's had the best, and whether Flores tries something he hasn't tried before. But I think this is going to be a good test for us. It's going to be a good test for them. But I just think we've got the weapons there, and I was heartened by the offensive line. I think if we can keep Purdy clean, Shanahan and we just got too many playmakers to be stifled for long periods of the game. We will move the ball.
Yeah,
so I've got a question for you, Gareth. On paper, would you say the Vikings defense is better than the Jets defense?
I think the secondary looks good. Just looking at a list with Stephon Gilmore, Byron Murphy, Harrison Smith. Of course, he's a veteran, but has been a top safety for some time. It's that pass rush perhaps isn't going to be the most fearsome, and possibly missing Van Ginkel. The linebackers tie all of that together. If there's space there, as you just said, with Debo, with Kittle, with Jennings, they're the guys who feast in that middle, that box area where the linebackers should patrol. If their best linebacker and their best sort of experience in running that system, if that's not going to be there for that game, I think that's there to be attacked. Difficult to say, I would say. Perhaps the Jets is slightly better overall, but I think the Vikings have probably got the better secondary. But it's probably splitting hairs, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head where you said the Jets have the better defensive line, and I think they do. I think you're right about that. I think they would have been generating more pressure than what we can expect from the Vikings, which makes me think, look at some of the throws that Brock Purdy was making last week, 2 days ago.
We know what you meant.
It's just gone so quick, 2 days ago. You look at those throws when he's under pressure. What type of throws is he going to throw when he's not under pressure that much? Ayuk's had a game under his belt. He's had a full week training, even though that week's a short week because of when we played Monday Night Football, Tuesday morning for us. But he's had training. That rust will gradually be coming off. Who knows if he gets the ball into the end zone like Brock Purdy gave him on Tuesday morning, he catches that this week.
Mm.
But we don't know. But I think it's going to be important how well Brock Purdy plays this week, because I think he'll have the time to throw the ball and find that open receiver.
Do you not think?
And if
no, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, and if they're blitzing, hopefully we should have an open receiver every play.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Lee, when I was watching the game back against the Jets, one of Debo's 15-yard gains, where it looked like it was going to be a run, and the three Jets linebackers froze, and then on the corner of the screen on the All-22, Debo was wide open, and like you said, Brock just had all the time in the world. Dart to him, intermediate, middle of the field, and Debo took off. And we didn't have Debo last year, and I think having Debo Samuel on the field will open that up, as you've just said there. A separate note, did either of you two see one of the interception, the pick six that the Vikings got last week? I meant to mention it. I don't know if you saw it, Lee, where Daniel Jones went to do a ball behind the line of scrimmage, and I think it was Van Ginkel had identified it, and it was the quickest pick six I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did see that.
It was only, what was it? Yeah, literally from his 10-yard line or something, wasn't it? He caught it and he was in 3 steps, and I think he was over the line.
The reason I mentioned that is you talked about Purdy and having time, and I think that showed that Daniel Jones was that spooked. He tried to get the ball out quick, but because Daniel Jones isn't Brock Purdy, it was intercepted that quickly, where we've seen time and time again Brock Purdy wouldn't make that mistake. He would have already identified the linebackers moving, right, go back over, and we've got the weapons. I think George Kittle could have a big game this week. That's just why I wanted to mention it while you're on that.
Save that for your predictions. I think we are slightly different without CMC. CMC was always there as that safety valve. Purdy shown that he was always happy to check it down to CMC, and CMC was usually open. He'd always pitch in with those sort of 20, 30 receiving yards. I think that's something that we haven't necessarily seen from Mason's game, but it might be there. I think in training camp it was talked about that Mason had vastly improved his pass catching. I think that's somewhere where we're going to potentially see Debo deployed almost more as that traditional running back as the outlet, in that Debo is going to be short. Jennings, Ayuk, Kittle, they're going to be running the routes, and Debo's going to be Purdy's safety blanket. So if there is any pressure, if the blitz does come, he hasn't got CMC to drop it down to. I'd like to see it go into Debo on those short passes, and then see what Debo does best, which is that steamrolling run of his, which is the thing of beauty with Debo with his ball in his in the ball with the ball in hand. So anything else to say really on how we are going to go after the Vikings D? No? Good. There we are. Coaching, you'd mentioned it. Bit of a rivalry, do you think, between Shanahan and Flores? Obviously, they must have met quite a few times by now. I know people have been talking about it. It's not something that I'd really had time to pick up on this week, but it's a good workout, I suppose, for Shanahan, and I think it's good that perhaps the team gives us a little bit more problem, perhaps, than the Jets did. I think that's positive early in the season.
I think that would be a good thing, yeah, because we definitely need that. Like they say in training camp, iron sharpens iron. We need Shanahan to go against somebody like Brian Flores to get him sharp enough for when he comes up against Spags in week 5, because that's the real rivalry, going up against the Chiefs. That's the one that he needs to nail, and obviously he's been unsuccessful at doing that. So yeah, going up against Flores will be a good test of not only our offense, but also Kyle Shanahan and his play call.
I think the Vikings fans, and Lee might know more than me off his brother, they're quite happy with head coach Kevin O'Connell. I think they've got quite a settled team. I think they've got an identity. I think they're building towards something. But like you said there, Lee, maybe it is going to be a slightly tougher game than we saw last week. But I don't know. Should I be as positive as I normally am and used to be as kind of a little bit more less positive than me? Because it kind of averages it out and then the game goes a different way.
I think it's going to be a good test for Sorensen as well. He passed his first test with flying colours. I think having to account for a player like Justin Jefferson and a top running back, and well, it's Sam Darnold. It is difficult to tell, but he can execute, and I think he's shown if he's not perhaps too ambitious, he can execute a decent game plan well, and hopefully let his weapons do the talking. So I think it's a good workout for Sorensen as well, and certainly better perhaps than Wilkes did against the Vikings last year. That was the beginning of the very questionable defensive play calling. So let's move off that. Sad memories. Shall we move on? Score predictions. I have got the betting lines for you. The Niners are 5.5 point favourites, that's pretty big for a road team, and the over/under is 45.5. Have you got the table, Lee, or has that slipped your mind?
I still haven't had time to do that yet.
Is that because you're still bottom?
No, it's because I've been really busy today on a course.
Okay. Fine.
I should be able to get this.
You leave my good friend Lee Gowland alone, Gareth Ellis. Come on, poking the bear, because when he inevitably reaches to the top of the leaderboard, he's going to use this, and I'll remind him. I'll say, Lee, it was all Gareth. It wasn't me. I think there's people in Discord got more points than us, so I don't know why we're all laughing, because I don't think it was a great start. The only saving grace.
Discord's not the real world, so
no, it was the scoregami.
So 5.5 point favourites. That I think that's slightly disrespectful to the Vikings. I think, given that it's a road game. If it had been at Levi's, but I think that's probably going to rile up the Vikings a little bit. And over under 45.5. Shall I go first? Because I think I will enjoy the novelty of being at the joint top of the leaderboard, because it's probably not going to last. I've got us winning this one, I think, reasonably comfortably. I think we're going to put on a show for the London Watch Party. I think obviously that's going to be a huge extra motivation for all the players. And I've got us down as the 31-20 victory.
Nice.
Paul, I think you're joint top with me with a mighty 7 points.
Yeah, so be no surprise. Well, I say no surprise. This is a bold prediction that the Niners are winning this game because we've lost 7 in a row on the road to Minnesota. So I'm clutching at straws. But Niners win this one. And I've gone for a 34-12 victory because like you, Gareth, we're putting on a show. Our defense is going to turn up because they're playing against Sam Darnold. And I'll give you the scorers later on. But that's my score for Sunday's game.
Ambitious. We have got a score through from Nadji.
Wasn't that the Vikings win? Nadji said, I think. Wasn't it, Lee?
50 burger.
It certainly wasn't the Niners.
It wasn't.
I think it was the Miners.
32-10 was Nadji's prediction.
Yeah, and if he wins points on this one, Lee will go back and say, you said the Miners. So, Jay Peplow, you're not alone with autocorrect, buddy. If you watched the live last night, Poor Jay made a mistake, which Brett didn't let him forget. But yeah, Nadji, looking forward to having you back on the show soon, mate. And cheers for the score prediction.
Definitely. So, Lee, just left to you.
Yeah, so I've already put it in there, as you can see. So I'm going for a big win.
Far too small.
A 35-17 victory.
Nice. We're all quite similar there, but
we always do this.
I'd take any of those. Have we got some?
It's a big win, but I'm looking there. Well, I've actually gone
double digits. So, anything double digits is a big win in the NFL. It is.
You're looking at the margin, aren't you now, Lee?
I'm looking at the margin, and Gareth's got the smallest margin. But both you and Nadji have gone for a bigger margin than me.
Garbage time. I always got to calculate in a bit of garbage time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as well, because I was going to go
too late.
35-10.
It's in the board now.
Oh, so no, I don't mind going 35-17. I don't mind. I will get this scoring sorted for the review show.
Excellent.
Which means I have to do it tomorrow because I'm on a really early train on Saturday morning.
I was going to say, you've got some time on a train now, haven't
you?
To
be fair, it can hang fire. We know you've been busy this week and you've obviously had all the stuff with the watch party. And it has been a good week, but an intense week because we played Monday Night Football. Then obviously we had a late night. Then we had the live/pod. And then today at work, my boss was like, what are you doing on your dinner? Notepad out. Headphones in, YouTube videos, because it just feels like we haven't had that much time to prepare for tonight's show. Maybe that might work in our favour.
Some bold predictions for the game for some players. I've got this. Ayuk's going to have a little bit of redemption this game. 100 yards and a TD. And I think JP is going to get 2 on the ground. There's going to be no stopping Jordan Mason. JM.
I wondered where you're going, JP.
Yeah, JP.
Yeah. Paul, do you want to go with your bold prediction?
Yeah, so I've got us scoring 4 touchdowns on the night, but one of them will be a pick 6.
Yeah.
I think Fred gets a pick 6 on Sunday. London's going to go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Mason, 1 touchdown, and I've got Debo scoring 2 touchdowns on Sunday. And this might have sounded bold, but Sam Darnold's thrown 3 interceptions. And Jake Moody is going to be perfect once again with all his kicks.
I know. Literally, I've got that down. Sam Darnold on Ghost Watch 3 ints is my my notes there.
That's scary. So I had it written down.
That is funny because I've got Sam Darnold having 4 interceptions. That is my bold prediction.
You've always got to go one better, haven't you?
I do. 4 interceptions, and I think we will sack him 6 times.
Alex Simpson is running out of ink in his pen with that one, boys. He's like, what, Lee? I love it. You've lured us in, being all a little bit demure tonight, and now you've come along with a big score. Turnovers. I love it, Lee. I love it, buddy.
Who's getting those interceptions?
Who's getting those interceptions? Oh, I'm going to go
since there's 4.
No, Edom, Brown, and Warner. Yeah,
I'd love to see a Bosa interception again. I think he had one, didn't he, in his rookie year?
He did against the Panthers,
Yeah, was it Panthers? He trundled it about 60 yards and he just ran out of juice. Didn't quite get
to be honest. I'm kind of hoping Bosa gets all 6 sacks.
Oh, it'd be amazing, yeah. We need it for our bold predictions at the start of the
We
season
do.
because it didn't start very well.
We do.
So, but look what happens
Started
when
slow.
Najee's not here to keep the handcuffs on us all. He's like, chaps, stop being too bold, but it's what we do.
No, yeah, he can outbold us all.
He can.
So, small matter of the watch party. We have talked about it. Obviously, we've mentioned it on the live show yesterday. We've mentioned it on previous pods. It will be hosted by our very own President Gowland. Looking forward to that, Lee? No, you love it.
No. Yeah, I mean, I've done it before, so it's nothing new. Yeah.
Hosting an official NFL
good,
franchises event. It's nothing, is it?
Yeah. It's
Not after doing the
one
pod,
of
obviously.
those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of those things. Yeah, it'll be fine, as long as I don't get the names wrong, which I'm sure I won't this time because I will have them in front of me. Even though I know them already, I'll have them in front of us. Yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to seeing what raffle prizes they have on because, to be honest, one of the things that was really good about the hosting last time was being able to give people prizes that they've won. And that was quite satisfying to be able to give somebody something. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the whole day, to be honest. There's quite a few new people
available?
turning up.
Tickets still
Tickets
available?
are still available. I'm unsure how many's been sold presently. Tickets are still available,
Sold.
so you can get free tickets.
Free sales. They are
Free
free.
sales. Yeah,
They
yeah.
are. You do need a
registration.
ticket, but they are free.
Yeah, you're right. The venue will actually be open early in the afternoon for both football and the F1. It's the North London Derby, which kicks off, I think, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, sometime in the afternoon. But there's also the F1 on as well. So the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Baku. However, if you do go in early, you will get kicked out before 4 o'clock. You will have to stand in queue outside for the next half an hour at least. So just bear that in mind if you're going to go there and watch those events. Not sure what we're doing at the moment. I had thought about doing that and going to the Goldwood, but then again, there's a load of bars around the area, so you can go to any one of those, to be honest, and not get kicked out. Leave it to the last minute before you go along to the Goldwood. And obviously that's easy for me to say because obviously the three of us are all VIP ticket holders, so we can just walk straight to our own queue and go in. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I do know there's a lot of new people turning up. And as you know, I love meeting new people. Please come and say hello. I don't bite. And yeah, it'll be a good day. Really looking forward to it.
I will say, Gareth, the panic last year was about the oversubscription. And that's not happened, Lee's issue.
Yeah.
So again, don't feel like you have to hang around the Goldwood area. Check in on Discord, Facebook, Twitter. At the moment, as you've said, this is Thursday night we're recording this. There's no plans for a pre-meet yet, but I think people are getting into London at different times.
Yeah.
But basically, we'll keep the plans fluid. Also wanted to shout out the watch party in Manchester that Georgina is organising. And again, if you are hosting something locally, because we are the Sky game at 6 o'clock, so you will be blacked out, please do let us know. It would be great to kind of see a lot of watch parties around the country if you can't make it to London or Manchester, because as you said, Lee, there's nothing better than watching 49ers football with fellow faithfuls. So good luck to all you guys who are hosting your own. And chaps, I'll see you both on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't believe
Looking forward
it's
to it.
happening this week.
I think Sky Sports will be at the watch party again, as they usually are. So if you are watching, or you will be watching on Sky, you can probably keep a lookout for us in little snippets, probably during the game. Look forward to that, or that's getting up for a change of drink time when the president is on the telly. So, anything more to add? It's been quite short. Let's wrap it up.
Well, I just wanted to say, Lee, congratulations on hosting. You're downplaying it, but as you said, Gareth, an NFL franchise working closely alongside our fan chapter, because that's what we are, to entrust you to host. I'm pretty blown away for you. And I know it's going to be a lot of hard work, and whatever we can do on the day, I'm sure the faithful listening to this and turning up will want to help. But honestly, buddy, for all your hard work, for everything you do, it's nice to see that recognition. And for me, there's no one better to host. If they're not going to bring Nick Clark over, the next man up is yourself. Now, there are big shoes to fill, but honestly, Lee, I just want to say congratulations, and do try and enjoy the game, because at the heart, you are a 49ers fan. As much as you do everything behind the scenes, you are there as a fan to watch the game. So that's all I wanted to say, Gareth.
Thank you for that, Paul. So at the moment, I haven't quite decided whether or not I'm going to do the whole thing or divvy up some of the sections to different members of the admin team. Because we do have some outstanding people, well, not just the admin team, some of our members as well. We do have members who are, in my mind, built to do this type of thing. So we could divvy up some of the duties there. Now, I do have a PSA. So I'd just like to say thank you very much to everybody that sponsored me for the Great North Run. Everybody within the group, obviously Simon Brown was so kind to offer a prize for that. That prize was drawn yesterday, and I have completely forgotten who the winner was. I was just about to give the wrong winner because I was thinking of what I need to take on Saturday, which was our last competition. So if
the bobblehead. Do not forget the bobblehead.
That's
so while he's looking...
Joe Staley will be there along with the mystery guest.
Along with Blankety Blank.
Yeah.
Alex Smith's going to be there because he confirmed that on YouTube last night.
He did.
So he did confirm. While he's looking up for that, the charity Lee ran for, Gareth, was the alienation against parental alienation awareness. So it's something close to a lot of the community's heart. So again, Lee, fantastic that you ran the Great North Run. I was looking out on the TV from Gareth, but he forgot to tell me what colour jersey he was wearing, and I did not think he'd be wearing orange, because that man's wardrobe is like all of ours red. But it was amazing that you did that.
Red and white.
Buddy.
You going to do the announcement, Lee, or are you going to...
I am. I'm just trying to find it.
Drum roll. See, this is what happens
you are building the tension.
Gareth. He loves it.
I am. I'm looking at it on my phone and I'm blind as a bat, Right. Can I expand that? No. Who's that number one there? Trist Newman, I believe, is the winner of that mini helmet.
Excellent. Well done, Trist.
And I do believe the number 2, which was Jamie Halstead, there was some cards.
From Trist.
Which were donated by Trist Newman.
Yeah. So
it's a small world. And well done, on the run, Lee. As someone who hasn't run for about 30 years.
I've got to say, I am really suffering today. So I've managed to run every day since the Great North Run, including today. And the run I had was literally 3 hours ago. And I've decided I need to take at least a fortnight off because my knee is crippling me at the moment.
It is not good for you, all this exercise.
That's a myth. That is a myth. Running builds bone density. It is good for you, as long as you wear the correct trainers. Otherwise, you screw your knees up. So the total donations, the total sponsorship raised was £859.
That is impressive. Well done.
And the original target was 500. So yeah, over the moon with that. Thank you very much, everybody. It was great to see that coming in, and it is a worthwhile cause. Totally.
Well done. I think that's it. Thanks, lads. Thanks for joining me. Can't wait to see you on Sunday, late afternoon. I probably won't be down much before 3 o'clock-ish, I think, in the region of the venue before about 3:30. But hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you and some of the other UK faithful just before the game. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for everyone who listens and watches the show. Don't forget you can subscribe and do all of that sort of stuff on our various channels. And if you don't know we're on social media, hit up Paul because he is all over those medias. I hope you get to enjoy the game wherever you are. Hope the watch party up in Manchester is as successful as the one in London, if probably a little smaller. But I'm sure it will be just as good. We go for the quality, not the quantity. As the game is blacked out on Sky, do look out for us at the watch party if you're watching from your sofa. So that is it. It's week 2. Let's go beat the Vikings. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down.